Ethan had always believed his marriage was solid. He and Laura had been together for nearly 7 years, building a comfortable life filled with weekend getaways, shared laughter, and the little rituals only couples truly understand. She was his world, his anchor, and the reason he worked tirelessly to provide a good life. But sometimes the very people we trust the most are the ones who carry the sharpest knives. The first signs were subtle. Laura began spending longer hours at work, claiming deadlines and client demands kept her tied to her desk. Ethan, being supportive, encouraged her ambition. He often cooked dinner and left it waiting for her, only for it to go untouched because she claimed to have already eaten. She became glued to her phone, turning it face down whenever it buzzed. At night, she rolled over and pretended to sleep before he even had the chance to reach for her hand. At first, Ethan told himself he was overthinking. People get busy. People get tired. Love changes shape over time. But deep down, a knot of suspicion formed. It grew tighter with each passing day until he decided he couldn't live with the uncertainty any longer. One evening, while Laura was in the shower, her phone lit up on the nightstand. Ethan wasn't the type to snoop, but instinct overpowered restraint. He picked it up and saw a string of messages from someone saved as Mark. The words made his stomach twist. "Last night was amazing. Can't wait to see you again. Your husband doesn't suspect a thing." Ethan felt the blood drain from his face. His hands trembled as he put the phone back, heart pounding so loudly he thought she might hear it from the bathroom. When Laura stepped out, towel wrapped around her, she smiled faintly, oblivious to the storm that had just erupted inside him. Ethan forced a smile back, but inside something broke. He didn't confront her immediately. Instead, he needed a plan. He spent weeks gathering evidence. He quietly installed a tracking app on her phone, placed a small camera in the living room, and checked credit card statements with meticulous care. What he uncovered was undeniable: hotel receipts, late-night work meetings that were actually rendezvous, and hours of recorded footage showing her sneaking out in carefully chosen outfits she never wore for him. Laura wasn't just having an affair, she was living a double life. And Ethan decided if she thought she could deceive him, he would turn the tables in a way she'd never forget. The man she was cheating with, Mark, wasn't just any random fling. He was her coworker, someone who had sat across from Ethan at company parties, shaking his hand with a smile that now seemed mocking. That realization fueled Ethan's resolve. This wasn't just about betrayal. It was about humiliation, about being lied to by two people who thought he was too blind to notice. When he had collected enough proof, Ethan went to see a divorce lawyer. With the evidence he had, the lawyer assured him the case would be quick and heavily in his favor. But Ethan wasn't satisfied with just ending the marriage quietly. He wanted the truth to explode in the faces of the two people who had underestimated him. The perfect opportunity came at Laura's birthday party. She had planned a small gathering at their house, inviting close friends, co-workers, and even Mark. Ethan played the role of the loving husband, helping set up decorations and making sure everything looked perfect. Laura didn't suspect a thing. As the night went on, the guests laughed, drank, and celebrated. Laura beamed as she opened her gifts, basking in the attention. Then Ethan stood up holding a large gift bag. "I've got something special for my wife," he announced, smiling warmly. The room fell silent as Laura looked at him with surprise. She reached into the bag and pulled out an envelope. "Open it," Ethan urged. She tore it open and pulled out several glossy photographs. At first she frowned in confusion, then her face turned ashen. They were pictures of her and Mark together, kissing in a hotel lobby, entering a room hand in hand. The silence in the room turned heavy as guests leaned forward, trying to see. But Ethan wasn't done. He pulled out a small remote and pressed a button. The TV screen lit up, playing video clips from the hidden camera. There was Laura, sneaking out late at night, texting Mark, even whispering on the phone about how easy it was to lie to her husband. Gasps erupted around the room. Friends covered their mouths. Some looked away, embarrassed, while others stared in shock. Laura's eyes filled with tears. "Ethan, please," she stammered, but he cut her off. "Don't bother," he said coldly. "Everyone here deserves to know the kind of person you really are. And Mark," he turned toward the man who sat frozen in his chair, "I hope your boss doesn't mind knowing how you spend your work hours. I've already sent copies of this to HR. Let's see how long you last at that company. Mark stood up, red-faced, muttering something about leaving, but Ethan's friends blocked the doorway. Laura collapsed into her chair, humiliated in front of everyone she knew. Ethan turned back to the crowd, his voice steady. I won't waste another day with someone who betrayed me. This marriage is over. The divorce papers are ready and I'll be keeping the house. Consider this my last gift to her, a taste of the truth. With that, he walked out, leaving Laura sobbing in front of her stunned friends. The fallout was immediate. Word spread through Laura's office like wildfire. Mark was fired within weeks, his career in ruins. Laura, humiliated and abandoned, tried desperately to salvage her reputation, but the stain of her betrayal followed her everywhere. Friends who had once admired her turned away, unwilling to associate with someone who had been exposed so brutally. The divorce went exactly as Ethan had planned. He kept the house, the savings, and even won custody of their dog Max, whom Laura had barely cared for during her affair. She was left with little more than her clothes and the shame of knowing she had destroyed everything. Ethan, on the other hand, felt a sense of calm he hadn't known in years. It wasn't joy exactly, but the relief of cutting away a poison that had been festering in his life. He focused on rebuilding, throwing himself into his work and reconnecting with friends who had always stood by him. Slowly, he rediscovered himself. The man he had been before betrayal had clouded his heart. Months later, Laura tried to contact him. She sent messages filled with regret, asking for forgiveness, begging for a chance to talk. Ethan never responded. One evening, she even showed up at his door, her face gaunt, her eyes swollen from crying. I made a mistake, she whispered. I lost everything. Please, Ethan, can we start over? He looked at her with a calm detachment. You didn't just make a mistake, he said. You made choices, and those choices destroyed us. I gave you everything, and you threw it away for someone who didn't even care enough to stay by your side. That's not love. That's selfishness, and I don't want it in my life anymore. He closed the door, leaving her standing in the cold night. Ethan never looked back. His revenge had been swift, public, and complete. But more importantly, he had reclaimed his dignity. Betrayal had threatened to break him, but instead, it forged him into someone stronger, someone who knew his worth and refused to let anyone diminish it again. And as for Laura, her downfall was the perfect reminder of one undeniable truth. When you betray the person who loves you most, you don't just lose them, you lose yourself.